was a typo, and I'm like, welcome to Amazon Answers. I'm Jared, and today we're talking about Wonder Woman Earth 1, what is probably the strangest Wonder Woman run I have ever read. So what is Earth 1? All right. So while back, years ago, DC had this Earth 1 like imprint idea, which what essentially was they were going to reinvent all their like prime characters, and it's like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Teen Titans, and Green Lantern, and they had planned a Flash one, but I don't think they did it. But the point is, it was like modernize them, but they only published them in graphic novel formats, meaning there was no like single issues. Hey, what's up, Cameron? So that's essentially what that was. Now, they tried to make us think this was all part of one continuity, but for reasons I'll discuss in this very stream, as a matter of fact, like this book makes it impossible that Earth 1 could be one Earth. I'll get into that later. But so this is written by Grant Morrison and drawn by Yannick Paquette. So the essentially Grant's approach for this is to homage the original 40s Wonder Woman, like under Marston, essentially. So it's volume 1, volume 2, and volume 3. So the thing about Earth 1 to start off is that this is the Wonder Woman 1 is very, very, very weird. And okay, so here's the thing about this. So it starts off, you see like Hippolyta fighting Hercules. Now the cool part about like the panel layout is that it's like bordered by like Greek pottery, so it looks like essentially like how the Greeks used to tell stories in pottery and stuff. And it's to explain why the Amazons don't like men, and then years down the line, essentially this is kind of told non-linearly in that Diana is brought back to it from man's world. And it's essentially the book is her recounting her stories. What's up, NJ? So it starts off immediately being interesting. Like, here's the thing. This book features Donna, Cassie, Artemis, and stuff. But Donna and Cassie aren't like Wonder Girl, aren't like people from man's world that were adopted by the Amazons. No, they're legit Amazons in this. And which for an Elseworlds concept of Wonder Woman, I get it. And you know what? It really works. I like that. There is like, it starts to get really weird when you get to man's world. Like, Morrison really weighs in on the bondage part of Wonder Woman, which can be kind of weird. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So, Diane, and then Cameron says, wait, all titles of Earth are supposed to be the same kind, except you shot. Here's the thing. Multiversity, the multiverse guidebook part of that comic makes you think these are all one Earth. Because when you get to Earth 1, because the one that we all follow in like the regular continuity is Earth 0, and then Earth 1 was this stuff. So they made you think that until you get to the ending of this, and I'm like, or even Earth 1 Green Lantern, you're like, there's no way this could be together in one continuity. It's too weird. So Steve Trevor arrives in man's world and stuff, and Steve is not really the love interest in this book. At least it's very, 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 very subdued, which honestly, that's the way that it should be, because obviously, as you all know, Steve Trevor is about as useful as a screen door in a hurricane. But so she brings him to man's world, but when she gets there, she doesn't speak like English yet, which I liked a little bit about this. But this book really doesn't age well when you consider. So she sees like for lack of a better term, overweight women or old people, and goes, "What's wrong with you? Why aren't you perfect?" And I go, okay. Particularly when you get to like this version of Etta Candy named Beth Candy, that's like the stereotypical Rebel Wilson-y sorority girl, where they're supposed to be bringing like so when we first meet Candy. She's supposed to be like, she and her sorority sisters are bringing food to like a feed the hungry mixer, and then one of the sorority girls asks Beth, "What happened to the food we were supposed to bring to this food shelter?" And she goes, and then Beth goes, "I guess I got hungry." And I go, what? Oh, come on! It's like this is the problem with this book. There's a lot of stuff in this that it's like, again, this is why I call this the strangest Wonder Woman run. This is the one that 100% does not like hold up. Now, is there some fun stuff in this book? Yes, like the action scenes drawn by Paquette are awesome. The grand scale, particularly when you get to Earth to Volume 3, is really, 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 really good. It's like when you see Ares, well, Maxwell Lord is in this, but he creates essentially the OMAX, but they're essentially like called the Ares drones or something like that. What's up, Tevia? Now, here's where this book also gets really weird. And this is, so Britt and I talked about this when we covered the Earth 1 series of books. So in Volume 3, Wonder Woman is trying to rally the Bana Migdal, so she has to fight Artemis in single combat. And here's where this book gets really, 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 like, okay, so they're fighting. Well, actually, so Artemis first sees Diana, and she goes, there must be, so she essentially says, Artemis says, to me, you'll always be a child. I was there when you were grown in your mother's alembics. We all took turns winding you. Okay. And then what happens at the end of the fight? Artemis makes out with Diana. And I go, you just told her you'll always be a child to her. I'm like, wait. And it hurts that whenever people on Twitter try and ship Diana with Artemis, they always use that image. And it's like this. It's like the most problematic thing ever. And then NJ says, I'm just going to tell my opinion on this. Yeah, sure. But personally, I like a kinky Wonder Woman who has a few bondage moments in her stories. That's just me. Yeah, it's just with me, I don't feel like that's necessary. I think the character has grown beyond that, because you got to understand, Marston is not the guy to like hold up as like this big like bastion of female empowerment when you actually do like that Marston movie dramatically lied about who he really is. But anyway, so Earth 1 follows Earth 1 Wonder Woman, the trilogy, because there's only 3 books, is like, obviously it's broken into thirds. So the first volume is Wonder Woman's introduction, Diana's introduction, and becoming Wonder Woman. She's not Wonder Woman until the end of the book, because what happens is she leaves the island. Like she sneaks off the island and then has her adventure. Hippolyta sends like Artemis. Does she send Artemis? Yeah, she sends. She essentially sends. Hang on, I'm gonna get the exact list of the Amazons. So it's Artemis, Donna, Wonder Woman's girlfriend Mala, and a few of the other Amazons to retrieve her. She comes back, tells her story, and then so it's decreed that she is going to be like the ambassador of the Amazons. So that's really interesting. But okay, so then Volume 2 happens. Volume 2 brings in Dr. Psycho. Now the problem with Dr. Psycho in this. Now let me talk about what Volume 2 does well as well. It more like insanely epic action and stuff, and it shows like Wonder Woman's effect on the world, how she's like spreading Amazonian ideals, if you will. And then she essentially saves Dr. Psycho, but it turns out he has the mind powers, but he tries to manipulate Diana into like so he can take sexual advantage of her. And I'm like, Grant, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because I get what you're going for, but let me put it this way. Some things really shouldn't be like put in tall. It's tall. Oh, in terms of like, which I prefer the shorter one, because it's like, because it makes it more creepy, and it's more comic booky if it's like the ridiculously short one. So I'm like, I'm more in line with the short one. But I'm just like, it's like it. Here's the thing: I get that he's homaging the older 1940 stuff, but there's a difference between homaging it and straight up bringing it into the modern day where it doesn't hold up that well. That's my problem with it. So as a matter of fact, I think I'll share my screen. I'll pull it up and then we can go over it together. And if you guys have any quick questions about Wonder Woman Earth 1, just go ahead and drop them in the chat and I'll get to them for sure. So, okay, we'll start with number 1. All right, so let's do this. Actually, is there a pack that has, is there like a larger volume that has all of them on here? I'm on DC Online, so yes, they do. Good. I'll use this one so I don't have to keep going from graphic novel to graphic novel. All right, here we go. All right, so let's do this. All right, hang on. Share screen. Here we go. All right, so here we go. So again, the covers and the art by Yannick Paquette is absolutely like nuts and good. The panel framing and everything is really good. The action scenes are like incredible. It's like from the art perspective, this is freaking dope. And I've always been I'm more of a fan of Paquette when he draws women. When he draws men, it looks off to me, and that's just me. But it's like with women and like the Amazons and like the way the Amazonian society is drawn, which is it's in this book, it's inspired, but it's essentially inspired by Greece, but it's like its own thing. Like they even have like invisible spaceships, if you know what I'm saying. So yeah, so you have this, and it's like, guys, come on. It's like I get that he's trying to homage the past, but the problem is it doesn't work in this modern context, particularly when you have Wonder Woman. That Wonder Woman has gone beyond that, like distinctly. So to the fact where a lot of people don't know that like Wonder Woman was created by Marston's to satisfy his bondage fantasy, essentially. So she sees Steve Trevor and essentially so that's Steve. And then she like tries to heal him, but so she takes the purple healing ray, and it turns out Wonder Woman is like the expert on the purple healing ray, but it doesn't work on him. So she has to take him to Man's World. So essentially she defeats them in a contest and steals Mala's invisible jet and takes Steve to Man's World. That's kind of how that works. Realistically speaking, it's totally in character for Psycho. Yeah, I get that. It's just like, yeah, I understand that it's like in line and stuff, and that's why it's like I get it, and at least it's like the villain and stuff, and Wonder Woman eventually defeats him. It's like, so then it's like, so here's where this book kind of falls apart. Here's where the bondage stuff doesn't really work, especially for me. So when she goes to romance Steve, she says, I'm going to romance you in the tradition of my people. So she essentially tells a black guy you must be willing to submit to loving authority, kneel, for we are bound. And I go, I know that's not what you mean, Grant, but in this context, it looks very, very, very problematic. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, that just doesn't work. If you wanted to do this, at the very least, don't make Steve a black guy, because that in and of itself, because that combined with that really doesn't mix well, if you will, in terms of like, there's a reason why it's like that's kind of looked down on. So it's like, why would you do that? Why would you do this? It's like, but again, it's like the part where this book really sells is the art. Like 100% the art just freaking kills it. We see like the Medusa that they bring to turn people to stone. Wonder Woman submits and is brought to the island, and then she heals Steve of being frozen. And then like I'm going to skip to volume 2, and in volume 2 we have, okay, so by the way, so yeah, I'm going to show you guys this. So this is what I mean. So this is the page that's always used by people. Do you think a white man would make it okay? It would look better, NJ. Let me put it to you this way. It would look better than it is trying to tell a black guy to submit to loving authority and kneel before me. That doesn't look good from an optics perspective. At least that's why I have a high degree of confidence that's not what Grant meant, but it looks really bad. That's what I'm saying. It would have been more palatable if Steve were not race bent. That's what I'm saying. So going to this. So this is what I'm talking about. So look. So all right. So yeah, exactly. Cameron agrees with me. It's like it doesn't like age. That's the part that really doesn't age well. So you have Artemis, and she says, okay, hang on. She goes, my sweet Diana, to me, you will always be a child. I was there when you were grown in your, when you were born, essentially. And this is why pairing Wonder Woman with any of the Amazons doesn't work, because 99% of the Amazons that people ship her with were the ones that have existed for centuries. So then you get to, so they fight. Hang on. This happens some with DC. And so they fight. Wonder Woman wins. And then they kiss. Again, this is after Artemis said that I remember when you were a child. I was there when you were a child. And I go, that really doesn't work. By the way, here's an epic action scene of Wonder Woman just manhandling the drones, pun intended. So those are essentially the OMAX, but they're essentially Ares drones. Yeah, I've been waiting. So yeah. Thanks, Parker. Yeah, so with this, it's like that's one of the things I really dig about this is like the action just looks incredible. Again, that's the part that makes this good. The writing may not be, like, in my mind, on par, because I've read a ton of Grant's work, and it's some of the best comics work I've read. It's just then you get to stuff like this, where I think it's their weakest writing, in my opinion. Like, I get what they're going for, but it's like, but I also love where it's a clear Independence Day reference where she goes, "Welcome to paradise." I love that. But yeah, she fights the Ares drones and like completely destroys them. And then you see like you see like Maxwell Lord, and so he's essentially like Maxwell Lord in this is technically Ares, the god of war, but it's like it's like he's not the actual god as far as I remember. And then so there's some good so there's good action scenes. Now this is where it makes it so this can never be in one continuity. This is where it happens. All right, so after the battle with Ares, she takes him out, and then all right, this is where it doesn't work. They use the Amazonian technology to pacify man's world, forcefully, mind you, and essentially make it so the women rule the earth. And I go, that in and of itself is why this can never be one universe with like Superman, Green Lantern. Green Lantern's particularly because Green Lantern takes place in like a far future, and they never reference this. So I'm like, no, this doesn't work. And I'm just like, this just doesn't really age well. Oh yeah, and then Hippolyta dies, and then she's reborn as a baby. And so Diana is gonna raise her own mom. So that's kind of how Earth One goes, and I get what they were going for, but personally, I don't think it ages as well as people try to credit it for. But that's just me. What do you guys think of Wonder Woman Earth One? Let me know, and then we'll discuss that. By the way, a new Trinity comic launches this coming week. That's going to be fun to ignore, right? Because the book is utterly crashing. I really hope the next one goes lower in the 100s, because that makes it more likely we'll never reference her again. I still think that. Oh, by the way, NJ, you'll love this. I was on my friend William show. He's a comic book shop owner, and he like really is like tied in with this. He says there's reasons to believe that King will leave before issue 50. So we'll see on that. But it's some of the stuff that he says there are like factors that will tie into that. Anyway, and then Parker says, I found it very. I like some of the action fight sequence in the book, but the writing was meh. Yeah, it's not horrible. Like it's no Tom King's Wonder Woman. Like I would still read this. It's not like it's stuff that I'm like I can't read this. This is utter garbage. But it's like there is some stuff that when I look at it, I'm like, is this the best that Grant has written? No, the answer is not, because Grant has written some solid, awesome stuff like Final Crisis. Dude, New 52 Superman is incredible. It's some of my favorite Superman writing. But it's like when it comes to Wonder Woman, for some reason, Grant goes heavy into that, which I get that is to homage the past, but you don't have to homage everything. That's where like I'm like, no, that doesn't work. That doesn't work at all. But what else do you guys have about Wonder Woman Earth 1, or really any of the Earth 1 books that you guys would like to get your questions answered? Let me know about that. Then we can see on that. And then yeah, and it's one of those really weird stories that I come back to every now and then. It's like, okay, it's not the worst Wonder Woman writing ever. It's not the worst Wonder Woman Elseworld story. That belongs to Chris Claremont's Superman and Wonder Woman. Trust me, I may do a stream on that and Amazon Answers on that. And it's one of those stories that when I read it, I was like, and you know me, I'm the biggest Super Wonder guy on YouTube. But when I read that, I was like, "Are you kidding me? That can't be that. There's no way that's what you there's no way that's what you really want to use. There's no way. That just it does not add up. Like in no way does this work. In no way does this work. But it's like I'm like, it's okay in terms of like let me put it to you this way. Despite the weaknesses of it, when I read Wonder Woman Earth 1, it still feels like Grant loves Wonder Woman. It's not like with King or like a lot of other modern Wonder Woman writers where it feels like an obligation. It is an obligation, but it shouldn't feel like that. Whereas with like Morrison, no, he really loves Wonder Woman, particularly like if you read their JLA run from the 90s, you really get the love for the character in there. So it's like, okay, I can buy that, and I can look past a few like weird occurrences, and if I'm going to allow like a really dope story is what I'm going for. Exactly. But so what other Wonder Woman Earth 1 questions do you have? Or you can even ask how I would do it, because how I would do it is like still homage like a lot of that stuff, but don't necessarily go all in on like the kinky stuff. Cerberus has eaten Wonder Woman in the preview because Diana got distracted by a Corrugate. I hope she finds a way to free herself without eating. No, Trinity will save Diana. Trinity will save Diana because this whole thing exists just because King wants to wants to make Trinity out to be a bigger character than she is. And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't work, bro. That really doesn't work in my at least in my opinion. It falls apart massively in terms of, and again, if the book keeps flopping like it is, despite the marketing it gets, because it gets a lot of marketing, let's be clear on that. If it keeps flopping despite the marketing it gets, I can't see a scenario where they keep Trinity around as a character. I even kid Trinity, because inevitably people are going to know, okay, so it's this Trinity. That's the one you really want, right? But I'm like, no, that's not going to work out that well. That really isn't. but it's gonna get to the point where he's going to have to like where he's gonna have to admit that he failed. He 100% failed giving Wonder Woman a daughter, and he's a failure as a Wonder Woman writer. That's just the way it works. And you know what? People fail about stuff. That's just the way this works. It's a factor of life. It's a factor of life. And you're not, and you know what? Every writer's allowed to have some bad moments. That's part of being a writer. And you have to take your criticism. That's just the way this works. And it's like the whole idea where like, because it's like the mental gymnastics that people have tried to do to defend this King's run is ridiculous. Although more and more people are DMing me saying, I heard the King's Wonder Woman run is bad. And I go, oh, it's not just bad. It's dog bad. But anyway, that's really what I think on that. And then Karen says, thoughts on his design for time. I love Earth 1 Wonder Woman. It really works as like a more like as like a newer version of Diana, and her really like her like what's the word? What's a good way to describe this? So what's cool about it is he gives Wonder Woman the pants at first in the story, which that in and of itself is like could be somewhat controversial. We saw what happened when Jim Lee tried to give her pants in the New 52. But what he does, what Grant does, what they do that actually works really well is she then gets the more traditional Wonder Woman costume later. So Grant still like homages the traditional Wonder Woman costume and then the pants one as well, and then moves on to like, okay, so this is the way we all know Wonder Woman looks like. Let's go off of that. So I really appreciate that because it's like you're homaging all the different parts of you're homaging the different like iterations of the character that have existed, and you're not like crapping on them because Grant could easily do that, but they're like, no, they're all part of the legacy of the character. So I'm gonna pay them the respect they deserve. And I go, okay, I really dig that. That's really good. And again, that shows the love for the character. It's like, and here's the thing: it may not have like. Some of the stuff may not have landed for me, but here's why I allow this. Because again, going back to what I said before, you can feel Grant's love for Wonder Woman in the book. So if I can feel, exactly, Parker. If I can feel a writer's love for the character is in there, I will excuse stuff. Because it's like, I know you're not doing this just because you like want to. You're doing it because you respect the character. And I will say this about Grant. As far as I am concerned, Grant has always respected Wonder Woman. Always. Like, in no way did I ever like think that Grant like hated Wonder Woman or something like that. Or was like not the biggest fan of Wonder Woman. I always could feel the love that Grant had for the character. And that is when I know, okay, he gets it. He loves the character. I'll excuse some stuff because you know what? At the very least, you really love the character, and that ultimately that's what we really need. That's what makes this all the more fun to read and like enjoy. But what else do you guys got? Angie said, take a wild guess and estimate how many of the Wonder Woman fan base like can't keep bondage, love Diana. Well, a lot of it on Twitter, and NJ, it's like it doesn't matter how many of them like it. It doesn't change the fact that it doesn't apply to the character as she exists now. Here's how I know that. You notice how DC doesn't acknowledge that portion of Wonder Woman anymore, and that's kind of intentional. That's what I'm going to tell you right there. But it's like, hey, it's like Grant's the type of writer that honors and loves Wonder Woman, meanwhile Tom King does not. I stated before, that's why choosing a writer to write Wonder Woman. Yeah, exactly, and it's like, again, that's why I don't excuse anything King does, because when I see what he does for Wonder Woman, I don't see anything but honestly contempt for the character, despite what King will have you say. It seems to me like like King hates Wonder Woman. That's it. Because if he loved Wonder Woman, he wouldn't make her a like backup character in her own book, because that's what she is compared to like this, where like a lot of characters show up in Earth One Wonder Woman, but at no point does Diana seem like she is being supplanted by other characters. At no point. At no point. It's like it's like, again, and that's how you can tell. To be honest with you, I would have liked the yeah, that was what they were gonna put in like a follow up to the book that got deleted, is guns that make German soldiers orgasm. Yeah, that's right, people. That's right, people. And I'm like, it would have made sense for this version of the Amazons, but it doesn't mean I have to like it. It's not anything that like I think really necessarily works, but it's like, yeah, I get it, but it's one of those things where I'm like, it's based upon like the preference of the reader, and I'm like, okay, it's fine. I mean, if that's something that you guys enjoy, okay, fine. Who am I to judge? Who am I to judge? But so what else do you guys got? What other questions would you guys like to know the answers to, as it relates to like Wonder Woman, Earth One Wonder Woman? When we just do general Wonder Woman, if you guys want. Just let me know what you guys would like to discuss, and we can go off of that. Do you think Wonder Woman story should be her origin? I would say so. There's a lot of good stuff in Historia that I think should be used more, honestly, because it's like that's where you get like a badass, but an also peaceful depiction of the Amazons. You get the origin for Hippolyta and like why she created Diana. There's like a lot of. I mean, could it fit in Earth One? No, 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 no. Case in point, because they show the origin of like Wonder Woman, of like the Amazons in this, and it directly contradicts Historia. So I disagree that they could that should be like the origin stuff. It's like I very much disagree. Morrison had a good ending on one. Yeah, it was good, Timo. It's but again, my problem with it is that if they're trying to tell us that all these exist in one universe, this contradicts that. But in terms of like a ending to the story from a writing perspective, yeah, it's pretty dope. I enjoy it. I enjoy it. That definitely works. Hey, Hal, what's up, dude? What's up, dude? Yeah, in a few months, Infinite Crisis will be 20 years old. Oh man, yeah, Robert and I definitely have to do a stream talking about Infinite Crisis, because that's like my favorite Crisis storyline. What other cues do you guys got that you guys really want to talk about in terms of like Earth One, Wonder Woman, or just Wonder Woman in general? There's any number of like things that we can discuss. Let's see. Anything about Wonder Woman that you guys really want to know, that you guys think that you guys want to see on future streams as well, you guys can ask that. But let's see what else we got here. What else can we discuss? What's your favorite Wonder Woman design? Okay. I'm just gonna. I'll bring it up. I'm not even gonna tell you what it is. I'm just gonna bring it up. Okay, where is it? Okay, here we go. You want to know my favorite look for Wonder Woman currently? You really want to know? Here. Absolute Wonder Woman just looks so badass. Like, look at that. And she still acts like Wonder Woman. That's the key part here. Because I would like this design a lot less if she were just like Kratos, God of War. But because she's not, and it's just like a modern reinvention of the character, and like she still acts like herself, it's really dope. That's what stays with me so far. Do you remember? I was only live stream listening to the audio CD of Infinite Crisis, and tell us about the disappointment of the Wonder Woman game. There's an audio CD of of Infinite Crisis. I could, but and talk about the disappointment of Wonder Woman game. Oh yeah, I did a stream about the Wonder Woman game being canceled. Correct me if I'm wrong, but was it Morrison that gave her the feat of overpowering a huge black hole and save Martian Manhunter who couldn't? I don't remember. That's interesting. Just imagine if Morrison had also tried with Diana, like with All-Star Superman. Like if he gave her like an All-Star Wonder Woman like story, that would be cool. And it would give her another story that people can point to. Because here's the thing about Wonder Woman. Anyone that tells you that Wonder Woman does not have good stories is lying or hasn't looked into it enough. But it's like DC doesn't promote it enough for that to like, for them to like really like for it to become more mainstream. What villains show up in Earth One? Okay, so you have Medusa, that's one. Yeah, Medusa, Max Lord, and this chick that was so the Nazis apparently invaded Themyscira. They were all defeated except for this one woman who was adopted by the Amazons, but then 3,000 years later killed Hippolyta. Yeah, that's really crazy. Do you like the new design because you're still fresh and your impressions haven't grown tired? I haven't grown. I will never grow tired of Absolute Wonder Woman. It just looks so unique and cool. And the reason why I like even more, it's a alternate universe. So it's like I can like that, and I don't have to like miss the old design for Wonder Woman. So it's like it's more good stuff in there. If you were the comic book writer for Wonder Woman, what would you do differently? I would go into it saying I'm not going to invent any new characters or concepts. I'm going to work with what Wonder Woman has because she has enough. You don't have to keep inventing new stuff to just muddy the water with Wonder Woman. She has enough good stuff that's been a part of her since the 40s that I'm sure you can use. So stop inventing new characters. For me, I'll always, the George Perez costume is like God tier. Yeah, exactly. Ultimately, that's down to like personal preference. I personally, my favorite Wonder Woman design, period, main universe Wonder Woman design is the Perez one because that got like that was both beautiful but not objectifying and such. Absolute Wonder Woman I just like because it's badass and it's exists side by side with the new design, so it's not like I got to choose really. Wait, what version of Max? Sleazy. I think it's sleazy. I don't think he has powers in this, but so essentially they combined him with Ares in that he's not a god. Well, let me be clear on that. He's not a god, but he is like, think of him like Tony Stark that makes like all those drones, all those like Ares drones that I showed you that look like Sentinels essentially. And he like remote pilots one at one point and goes, I am Ares, the god of war. But he's not a god. Let me put it to you that way. What else do you guys got? What other quick questions you guys have? But yeah. It's they kind of combine. That's the thing about this, that they homage a lot of villains, but a lot of them are like conglomerated. I like the traditional Wonder Woman design, mainly New 52. Yeah, the New 52 one I like because it was simple. That's the cool part about it. It was simple, and but it was also fresh, if that makes sense. I really liked how they did that. But so what else do you guys got? What else you guys got? There's plenty of stuff that we can discuss there. Plenty of dope stuff, but it can be on anything that has to do with Earth One, mainly Wonder Woman. If you guys just want to have a general Wonder Woman discussion as well, we can do that. Any new vids on Super Wonder, or you just it's just simply putting a new vid you're working on, Weather and Cloud. Okay, so Super Wonder Legacy, it's either going to be tonight at 10:30 or tomorrow at like, I think it was like 5 when Brittany decided to do it, because she's like busy currently. So it's either going to be tonight or tomorrow for sure. And we're going to be comparing Black Adam and Isis being Black Adam's wife. And then, so for Wonder Woman Wednesday, I'm going to do more of my favorite Wonder Woman artists, like a supplement to last week's Wonder Woman Wednesday, because I got so many people saying, what about this artist? What about this artist? What about this artist? So it's like, kind of have to and stuff. And I got a bunch of other really good stuff in the pike. And I'm going to make a whole new intro for these streams as well, because these are going to be a regular thing. So they should have their own intro. One of the few things, because I love most of it, I didn't like about this arc was that, yeah. That's the other part where I'm like, no. I do not like that at all. Like, Grant, what are you doing, man? Here's my pitch for a new villain. A girl in the 21st century America sees how Wonder Woman is not living up to her ideals of a hero, so tries to beat her, create one for herself. Diana creates a villain. I don't like the idea of like, where it's like established that Wonder Woman is not living up to her ideals. I'm not that convinced on that. Yeah, I figured because this show is a regular Comics League show. Like, there's no point where I'm going to stop doing these streams particularly. So I'm like, if I'm going to do this on the regular, I should do like a stream just for these, because again, it's amazing how much Wonder Woman content I put on this channel. Hey, but you guys are watching, so I got no choice here. So, how would you pitch one, Jared? Okay, so here's my pitch for a Wonder Woman villain. All right, so I take Trinity and make it so Trinity is in fact the reincarnation of Medusa. Like, Wonder Woman did, like either Grail or Cersei. When Diana made Trinity in like the Sam, she was manipulated or like influenced by Cersei and Grail to create another a vessel for Medusa. That's kind of what I would do. I'm not a Wonder Woman fan, but if I were, I would be happy that there's something interesting has happened to her because of King, whether it's bad or not. After the cancerous wound from 18 to 23, there was nothing interesting to discuss. Yeah, but that's why I always say check out Wonder Woman Earth 1, because that in and of itself is fascinating. That is one of the best like reinventions of Wonder Woman. Why Medusa though? Because I like Wonder Woman because I like villains that have to do with like mythology, in other words, instead of like just, okay, she fights a dude. And I'm like, okay, but what does that add per se? Can you give me something new as opposed to just like, yeah, and then this happens. And I go, okay, guys. Okay. I just, it's like, because Wonder Woman is also a like mythological character, and I don't like when DC ignores that, like King is doing, because there's plenty of like stories in like Greek mythology that they could be doing that would honestly do extremely well, but they're not doing it. That's the criminal part of this, that I'm like, oh, come on, guys, please just do it right. Give me something new and fun, and then we can actually have some fun with it. Then we can actually like really promote Wonder Woman to the way that she should be. But then again, it's like, nah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So I'm like, okay, guys, okay. Yeah, or a reincarnated soul from Tartarus in the meadow. Yeah, you could do that too. Yeah, you could definitely do that too. What I would also do, here's another good idea. I would homage a Justice League episode where they had Oregia and have her be like totally anti-male, and Diana like being the counter to that, to kind of show that to kind of have that conversation about extremism on either side and like countering that. See, that's what you can tell with Wonder Woman, but you need someone that actually respects and likes the character. That's the thing. By the way, my goal in life, it's very interesting that you asked me if I were a Wonder Woman writer, because my goal in life is to write the main Wonder Woman book someday. That's like my ideal, because if I could get that and like have a good run on Wonder Woman, that would be like a bucket list item right there. And I'm wondering if I would actually get the opportunity to do that. If DC ever offered me the opportunity to do that, I'd be like, oh, yes, please. Please, yes, please. I would love that. All DC has to do is call me up. Any Greek gods that I could serve as potential Wonder Women instead of just always Ares. Hera sometimes, or Zeus could definitely do it. Yeah. Hades, mythological Hades is not really a bad guy, but I see what you're saying. Though you could definitely do it. I completely forgot about Trinity. So did everyone else. Because the character is not important and doesn't matter. That's why, again, I say that like as soon as King leaves Wonder Woman, it's never going to be referenced again. Hey, what's up, Battle Goom? Arisa to me represents all the problems with DCAU Wonder Woman. To me, Wonder Woman is a character who stands for more than feminism. But Arisa was made to make feminism look bad by insecure men. No, but you can counter that. If Wonder Woman is telling her, no, that's not what it is. So if that's not what the ideal actually is. So if you have Wonder Woman define it for people, guess what? You can point to that being like an invention, saying that's not the way that like feminism actually is. So that's my point. I'm not saying glorify it. I'm saying point the searchlight on that version and then say that's not the way that this should be. That's kind of the way you do it. I'm not saying necessarily like go with it, if you will. What else you guys got? What other? Oh, it's like Tim and others looked at Wonder Woman, and just felt bad she was a powerful woman. Well, as Britt and I talked about on last week's episode about Justice League Action, Bruce Timm and all the guys thought of Wonder Woman as a one-note character. That's why they did a lot of stuff to butcher her. And it's like, that's why that version of Wonder Woman exists. Unless the Trinity from King's Wonder Woman is working with the multiverse, leave to prevent the birth of Prime Earth evil Trinity, or story could be a war on nurture versus nature. Yeah, but I would say we're beyond the point where the character's salvageable. This has to be said very carefully, but why does Wonder Woman have to just be the girl superhero? Why didn't DCAU focus on truth? Because they didn't care about Wonder Woman. The problem with Justice League Unlimited is that they forgot that they were writing characters other than Batman. That's really the problem. And Balgoon, it's a pleasure to see you, my friend. I'm glad you're back here. Parker says Steve is still, yes, he's still dead. Thank God. Steve is definitely still dead. And that's one of the things that I would keep. Like if I hopped on the King's run, that's one of the few things that I would keep and carry over, is that Steve Trevor's dead, because honestly, he serves zero purpose to modern Wonder Woman. Because Steve, again, is a plot device to get her off the island. Once she's off the island, his usefulness to her vanishes extremely fast. Prime Evil Trinity, on the night she was born, was blessed by the evil gods by the allowance of the Greek pantheon to test the Amazons and humanity. Could Diana redeem? No. I still say no. They're not. I would still say Trinity to this point is beyond like unless like Trinity completely vanished at the end of that story. It was never like existed. Period. I don't see her being able to last. That's it. It's like that's what I would say Trinity's future is, because King has created characters in the past that it's like, no, she this character is never going to be referenced again. And you know what? That's the way that Trinity deserves. Trinity deserves to be completely forgotten and never referenced ever again. That's just me, though. Let me know what you guys think about that, or about like any Wonder Woman stuff you guys want to talk about. I got all the time in the world to hang out with you guys. I still think Lois and Steve make sense for them as partners that reflect their values, but for Diana, Steve makes less sense because Diana leans into being Wonder Woman while Clark must be human. Clark does not. See, here's the thing. I disagree with that because, well, here's the thing. I disagree that being with human love interests are necessary for that to happen. That's not, in my mind, that's not really a thing. The way I kind of see it, it's more of like they bring each other closer to humanity. That's just my thing. Was the creation of Morrison an idea for Wonder Woman to give girls and women their own Superman? Because his described her as a woman with all the strength of Superman. But yeah, it was kind of because he was a critic of comics and said that it had blood curdling masculinity. So what he did is he wanted to like to give like one that he felt was like empowering to women, but she was constantly being tied up and dominated by men. So I go, how is that empowering to women? It's like a very 1940s version of female empowerment. And I go, that doesn't work. That's the big problem with like Marston's Wonder Woman. Now, don't get me wrong. He laid the foundation for the character. Just that's why you shouldn't bring everything from that version. Why doesn't DC make a mobile game involving street level heroes like Flash or Green Arrow? First off, Flash is not street level. Batman could be a high reward or paid for. I don't know. I missed the stuff on Grant Morrison, so this may have been said, but I want to ask, how do you feel about the ending? It's pretty. It's okay. Let me put it this way: as it being its own self-contained story, yeah, I'm fine with it because it works for what the story Grant's trying to tell. As a story that's supposed to take place in a shared continuity, like Earth One kind of is. I don't think it works that well because it makes it impossible for like Green Lantern to have happened, for Superman to have happened, for Batman to have happened. So I go, you need to like, you can't have it where women take over the world in order for like super, because it's never referenced in any of the other books, but yet DC and Multiversity would have you believe that they're one Earth. So I'm like, that doesn't work. To me, the ending for Wonder Woman was so odd. I felt like Wonder Woman became a dummy mommy supervillain conquering the world. That is true, though. It's like the Amazons took over by force. They basically said, actually, you know what? I'll read it. I'll read it for you guys. Here we go. Let me pull up the graphic novel. Let me pull up that page. So Wonder Woman says... She says, all right. She says, no further threats to our peaceful way of life will be tolerated. Ares and Hades guide your leaders, your economists, and their bully troops. We will not destroy what we find. You will be improved upon. You will come to understand and value the rewards of submission to loving authority. You will come to realize we do only what is best for you. Prepare to be pacified. Make war no more. And then by order of the Amazonian queen, and then the island like pacifies man's world. And basically it's by force. And I go, that's not the way that this kind of works. And I'm like, and it's like, there's no way that you expect me to believe that Wonder Woman's the hero in this. Maybe during the 40s when we were tied up a lot as damsels And yeah, but and he no, I understand that. I'm not saying that like. See, let me clarify this. It's like it worked for the time. I'm just saying is that's why I'm against the bondage stuff, because it was created in a time period that we're not in anymore, and it doesn't like align with like the way DC presents Wonder Woman nowadays. It's like with that. That's essentially a point that I kind of put there. But it's like, but there's like some stuff in there. And by the way, before you guys ask, I haven't read Cheetah robs the Just League issue 1 yet. I've seen parts of it, but the part that's kind of interesting is where he talks about how Cheetah's in love with Wonder Woman, and I go, but she constantly tries to kill her, and I'm like, doesn't work. To me, I feel like Morrison had the bondage up because he had that's really what it was, Battle Goon. When you see the movie Professor Morrison and the Wonder Woman, it makes it out like that's why he really did it. It wasn't really. It wanted to fulfill his fantasies. That's kind of, to live out his fantasies. So it's like, That's why I'm like, it wasn't based on anything that directly helped the character or anything like that. It really wasn't. It really, 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 really wasn't. So I'm like, no, I do not involve. There's a lot of good stuff in Wonder Woman's early years, but it's very filled. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Balgoon. That's my point there. There's a lot of really fun stuff in Golden Age Wonder Woman, and I made, and that's a future stream I have planned. But it's like a lot of this stuff. It's like, what were you thinking? It's like, I understand, but ultimately it just really didn't, at least it didn't work for me. That's it. It's like, I get it, but it's like, for one thing, it's a distraction. I don't think that stuff has a place in like superhero comics, but beyond that, it's weird. Let me put it that way. It's weird the way that like it comes off, because it's supposed to be like Wonder Woman's powerful and like empowered and like supposed to be like the ideal woman, but the ideal woman is constantly being like subjugated. So I'm like, I don't know about you guys, that seems kind of backwards to me. That's just me. By the way, if you guys would like a more in-depth discussion about Earth One that Britt and I did, we did Super Wonder Legacy episode 78, where we talked about Earth One, and I'll put that in the chat after like when I end the stream, so we can talk, so you guys can see that, because I think you guys would really enjoy that one, because we talk about a lot of that stuff. For Chia by Rucka, why is he making her in love with Diana? Because here's the thing, Rucka apparently makes every character a lesbian. That's kind of his one-trick pony thing. It's like, even in the Lois Lane book, all of a sudden it turns into a Renee Montoya book because Rucka's incapable of writing straight women characters. He just is. And I'm like, okay, I get it, but it's like, and here's the problem. So here's the interesting thing about every character, even Superman and Batman. No, I said lesbian. So it's like whenever he writes a female character, he has to like point that they may have lesbian tendencies or like being a lesbian or something like that. Which, hey, he created a fantastic character with Kate Kane Batwoman, like that. Yeah, exactly. Like that version of Batwoman was fantastic, and Kate's a great character. But the problem is he tries to apply that to literally every character, and I go, bro, just stop. And I love how people are like, oh, that means he's gonna put Barbara with Wonder Woman in there. But how do you feel about when people say Clark and Diana can't be with each other, but they must have a human love interest instead? As I've always gotten some mixed answers on that. I don't agree with that, because first off, Diana is human. She's a woman, particularly with the clay origin. She is a literal Earth woman. Literal. She's made of clay. So if there's anyone that's like, it depends on what you mean by human. And then that conversation gets oddly xenophobic when people say he has to be with like a human woman. And I go, yeah, that doesn't really hold up, in my opinion. It's like, it's acting like, if this were like, people apply injustice like it's like the be all end all for like why Superman and Wonder Woman shouldn't be together, until you realize that like that is a bastardization of Wonder Woman and Superman, and it's to the point where it's like a sweater made by a blind person that's never made a sweater before. Eventually, the whole damn thing just comes unraveled. Is essentially the way I kind of see it on that. That's why I say Injustice has done somewhat irreparable damage to like the perception of Superman and Wonder Woman. Like, and it's like the sooner we admit that Injustice is like a really crappy story, the sooner we can actually start to like get away from that. Rocka is the GOAT for me, but please don't get angry when I say personally. Yeah, I know. It's just Wonder Woman being with a murderous furry that has eaten people. I don't dig that, because here's the thing, NJ. He may say Barbara's in love with Diana. The next writer can say, oh, no, she freaking hates her. It's like I don't dig that. It's like it doesn't really work for me. Because I hear people say Diana can't be a human while being an Amazon with Clark's. Like, he can't be human while being a Kryptonian, which is pretty wild to me. Yeah, it is. I don't think Cheetah should be in love with Diana. I prefer her as an archaeologist gone wrong twist. Yeah, that's my preferred version. Plus the fact, again, it's like, and here's the thing: Rucka knows that he can never put Diana with a woman. He has said it himself. Someone asked him about, do you see Wonder Woman as bi? And he goes, personally, yeah, but it doesn't matter what I say. DC editorial is what matters, and they disagree with me. It's like DC editorial explicitly to creatives have legit avoided putting her in that stuff. Look, if Diana dated a nice woman, Amazon or otherwise, that'd be fine. But Cheetah, yeah, exactly. Plus, if she dates an Amazon, most of the Amazons that people ship her with, or I would say all the Amazons that people ship her with, are much older than her. And it's like, even with Artemis, because it's canon that like Artemis, if you actually go through the timeline, it also doesn't work with Artemis. Like any Amazon, you cannot do that. And before you say the ones resurrected by the Well of Souls, Mark Waid just said that Nubia, in his other history of the DC universe, that Nubia is the last Amazon to be reincarnated with the Well of Souls. So that's not a thing anymore. So it's like, you cannot do that. It doesn't work at all. Plus the fact, to me, the whole concept of Diana has to be into women because she comes from an island of only women is reductionist, and it's a very weak argument, in my opinion. That's just kind of the way I kind of see it. Yeah, I saw that Cheetah and Diana. I sighed and just thought Wonder Woman fans were saying, thank God, I hope they get together. Yeah, they're never going to get together. That's what people have to understand. But it's like, they're never going to do this. I say that as someone who has liked some of Rucker's work, but I feel like he only wants Diana bi to keep Steve, but would have his lesbian obsession. For me, Diana being bi makes sense to Greek myth. Yeah, but even the Battlegoon, the mythological Amazons were straight. Like, I'm sure some of them were gay, but by and large, the mythological Amazon from actual Greek mythology weren't LGBT. So it's like, when people talk about it's accurate to the mythology, I go, no, it's not actually. Scholars have weighed in on this, and they're kind of not. In fact, the Amazons of Greek mythology, that's the way Azzarello wrote the Amazons. So I go, that's why that doesn't necessarily go. Yeah, exactly. The Amazons of Greek mythology, that's why Azzarello made the change to the Amazons. No, I'm not saying it didn't, but all in all, in terms of the Amazons, most of them were straight, because the whole method of reproduction from Wonder Woman New 52, that's the Amazons. That's why he was allowed to do it. That's why it's like, I get why he did it. It doesn't work for the DC Comics Amazons, but I get that he was going for a mythologically grounded version of the Amazons. That's that. So that's really what that's where I stand on that. Now, again, if you ship her with a woman, okay, it's fine. It's like, I'm a disagree with you, but hey, you're allowed to ship who you want. I'm not here to tell you don't do it. I'm just here to tell you here's why, in my opinion, it doesn't work. In my opinion, that's it. If they actually acknowledged it, I would be like, okay, DC acknowledged it, but they explicitly don't. And this is according to people within DC that like, again, I bring up that like JJheat Axelrod was writing the coffee table book, essentially the like guide to all the LGBTQ characters, and someone asked her, is Diana in it, and or like going to be in any of the Pride anthology books? And then JJheat Axelrod says, based on my conversations with the people that write the character, no. Also, thinking of Greek myths and gods, why does DC hyper focus on the Greek gods, but on the Greek myths, but not her villains? I don't know why. It's because too many writers don't want to like. It's like it's like, here's the thing: Wonder Woman has great villains, but DC doesn't focus on them. It's like, what? That's why, again, if I were writing Wonder Woman, I would say we're going to use only stuff that Wonder Woman that has pre-existed. And then I would straight up kill the Sovereign, by the way, like straight up kill it so we can never use it again. That's the first thing I would do. But it's like, look, because ultimately when you look at like Wonder Woman, she has great villains that are 100% like identifiable and like memorable. It's just DC doesn't push them enough because you have people like Tom King going, I want to create Wonder Woman's Joker. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, that's stupid. Parker says, I remember reading by a story of an Amazonian queen fought Achilles in the Trojan War. That was Penthesilea. So it's kind of cool about that. So Penthesilea in mythology killed Hippolyta, was distraught by the accident of killing Hippolyta. So she went to Troy as like a purification exercise. And then she ended up dying in the war. And then when Achilles took his helmet off and took her helmet off, they fell in love before she died. So that's actually a really good story. And Penthesilea killed Hippolyta in Flashpoint. So that's where that comes from. One of his Joker is Solvin. No, to bargain bin Lex. No, I know, Balgun. That's what Tom King himself, according to him, was trying to make. How about you just make a good villain? Don't say she has to be this version. I'm trying to make the next like really popular villain. Yeah, well, you utterly failed. That's why, again, it's like this is a disaster and a failure of a run. Like it is like one of the I would argue Tom King's Wonder Woman is the worst Wonder Woman run of all time, at least in the modern day. It is like the most garbage thing. What King means is like he was, you know how like when you think of Batman's villains, you immediately think of the Joker, or Superman, you think of Lex Luthor. That's what he was going for. But it's like, no, I'm sorry, dude. You utterly failed at that. Like it is hilarious how badly you failed. It will never not be funny about how badly King failed at writing Wonder Woman. Like it, honestly, I have said, and I stand by the statement, that King's run on Wonder Woman is the biggest insult to the character since the New 52 Amazons. DC won't show woman kick a woman or just straight up say she's not, minus Cassia. Cassia is not canon anymore. They also hint some details of it, like her saying, I don't have a boyfriend or girl. That was just Rucka. And here's the thing. Again, they could say that. And it could be like Wonder Woman saying, look, I'm not like, I took that as more Wonder Woman being exclusive, but no, she's not. It's like DC that is pretty much indirectly confirmed she's straight. So that's just the way it kind of works. It's like, you don't have to like it, but there's plenty of stuff that in like DC that like, I don't like that's like canon. In Greek mythology, did they actually mention a place called Themyscira? Yeah, they did. Themyscira is a place in Greek mythology. It's like the island of the Amazons. Yeah. I think in like Greek mythology, the Amazons were all the daughters of Ares, as a matter of fact. So that should show you how hardcore the Amazons are in actual Greek mythology. So there's like a lot of really fun stuff in Greek myth. That's partly why Wonder Woman became my favorite DC character, because I'm always been a big fan of Greek myth and like all those movies and such. So it's like when you have a character that leans very heavily into it, yes, I love it. I love this character so much. Plus, Britt also. Britt may say she gave up on DC, but I know she secretly loves it. And Britt, if you're watching, I'm calling you out. But yeah, but that's the way I kind of see it. It's like, look, now here's the thing. Here's the way I kind of see it, and it gets into Diana saying I don't have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, because that's just Rucka like playing with it, but DC won't do it. It's like, look, to me, is Diana like a member of the community? No. Is she supportive of people in that community? Yes. But they don't have the guts to come out, whether in an interview or stuff, and say, hey, everyone, she's straight. Because they know about the backlash that they would get backlash either way, NJ. So they're just like, we just won't acknowledge it at all. Except for like Elseworld stories like Dark Knights of Steel. It's fine for Elseworld story, but main universe Diana can't do that. Plus, here's the thing, NJ. Let me ask this. When was the last time when Wonder Woman has enough trouble selling on her own, are you going to do anything that could alienate half the audience or has been shown to not lead to an increase in sales? The problem with DC and Wonder Woman for sexual is that they don't commit either way. Oh yeah, that's my problem with it, is that they don't. Well, here's the thing, they indirectly have, because it's like when Rucka did that. Notice how Diana had. Here's the thing: DC said it without explicitly saying it. Hear me out on this. So let's take Cassia. She's referenced in Wonder Woman Rebirth, then never referenced again when Rucka leaves the book, despite the fact that Diana has returned to the island numerous times. It's like, yeah, and you notice there was not any like DC article about Diana being bi. They explicitly keep her out of all the Pride anthologies, intentionally, mind you, according to DC creatives. To me, with Wonder Woman, and apologies for disagreeing with you, Greek myth is full of not just queer stuff, but very different values, period. I see why Wonder Woman can just be seen as LGBT or straight. Oh yeah, 100%. Due to the fact that they're trying to juggle ancient person. Yeah, and that's fine, Battle Goon. It's like It's not like I'm like, no, it can't happen. But I'm like, I'm just going off of. I'm not saying it can't happen or it wouldn't make sense if they did it. I'm just approaching it the way DC sees it now. Like if they came out and explicitly said it and confirmed it, I'd be like, I mean, okay, of all the characters, it kind of makes sense. But the way the reason why I always maintain a statement that she's not is that I'm just going off of the way DC has indicated it currently, because there's a lot of like misinformation about it. And that's just kind of the way I kind of go with it and deal with it either way. Yeah, deal with it. It's definitely going to tick off one group either way. So that's why DC keeps quiet about it and indirectly says she's straight. That's kind of the way I kind of got it. I always thought Diana was straight, admittedly, because I was exposed to her relationship with Steve and my favorite, her and Clark. There you go, Parker. But that's my exposure. So I mean, I'm not so sure. I feel like Wonder Woman is in this weird shade of gray, shades of rainbow. Yeah, trying to please both sides of the argument. They let some writers to play with it in the main book, but when it actually comes time to show it, they are terrified. Well, yeah. Do I feel like they should come out and say it either way? Yeah, I feel like they should. But will they? No, because from a business perspective, they're going to alienate an audience either way. And for a character that doesn't sell as well, that doesn't sell like gangbusters like Wonder Woman, they cannot afford to scare off either person. So they're more like, no, they're not going to. It's like even Rucka said, Rucka himself has said DC considers her to be straight. So it's like that's like what I'm going off of right now. But the argument gets messier than most. Are you straight or LGBT for a character due to her background in Greek myth? Yeah, but to your point, Balagoon, you said not all Greek mythology characters are LGBTQ. So it's like either way, it's like I get it, but it's like just because she's a Greek myth does not mean she aligns with this type of ideology or thinking. Greek myth is also adapted to represent our culture all the time. Exactly. So it's like, if you want to go pure Greek myth, there's a lot of stuff that they cannot do that the Greeks got up to in mythology. So I'm like, that's the thing. And that's the problem with like adapting Greek myth, because also you saw like the backlash that Azzarello got for making the Amazons like the Amazons from New 52. But it's like people were like, that's not the Amazons. I'm like, yeah, I get it's mythologically accurate, but it doesn't work for the way the DC Comics Amazons have been shown, is what I say. What I meant was that sexually backwards is a lot more fluid. Yeah, exactly. But it's like nowadays we don't have that way of thinking. So that's why they can't really go with that, if you will. Sometimes reading Greek mythology is actually wild. I'm not gonna like, yo, yeah. If you thought Game of Thrones had incest, read Greek mythology. Read Greek mythology. There's like a lot there, and I'm like, I don't know. It's like I'm like, it's ultimately I'm like, nah. I will never forget when I heard that there was a statue of Aphrodite with a beard and packing to be PG. Yeah, yeah. It's like it's adapted to the modern times, and I go, that's why you're never get. That's why when people say, oh, it's like Greek mythology, and I go, I get it, but Wonder Woman is not 100% Greek, 100% pure Greek mythology. That's what people have to understand when they use that argument. Yeah, teacher Diana should really be a thing. Oh, I'd be fine with her if her job was like a mythology professor, or like a diplomacy professor or something like that. Another time when she touched Kate Kane's Batwoman's face and hair softened and smiled at her. Also, the other thing is like, I do feel like some fans read into stuff that isn't there. So it's like, that's the other thing, is like people read into stuff all the time. So it's like, either way, they're kind of screwed. Oh, the Spartans. Oh, yeah, exactly. The Spartans are like, I'm not really sure you should go with that. Yeah, Zeus has been, as Britt has eloquently said, Zeus is always laying his scroll everywhere, and sometimes he even tries to sleep with his own family. So yeah, it's like, do you want to go pure Greek mythology? Because that's what it leads to. It's a DC character based on Greek mythology, just like Thor is Marvel's takes on Norse. Yeah, exactly. It's not, and by what's up, Legion? It's not pure. It's not pure Greek mythology, or Thor's not. It's not pure Norse mythology. It's the comic booky superhero version of it. Yes, it takes heavy inspiration from it, but it's not like 100% like this is Greek mythology. So that's why that argument of, well, it's based on Greek mythology, so it has to be this way. And I go, yeah, but it's not 100% like, that's like half the argument, if you will. But yeah, it's like Wonder Woman has a very interesting like fan base, I would say. It's because it's like a good portion of them. I'm not gonna say a good portion. I would say a group of them, a vocal. It should. Nope. No. There are some things that should never be adapted in DC Comics, period. 100%. No, never. Zilch, never. Never depicted. I forgot reading about Diana, the Greek demigod who traveled to America and defended it from Darkseid, and Homer's right. Yeah, I know, right? That's my favorite story. Oh my gosh. That's my favorite story. Yeah, NJ, no. There is some stuff that should never be shown in Wonder Woman or like DC Comics, period. No, never. Never. It's like the idea that here's the thing. If people are like, it's mythologically accurate, doesn't mean it doesn't mean you should show it. Definitely doesn't mean you should show it. Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm like, no, doesn't mean you should show it. I'm not even saying in Black Label, do not publish a comic book that has that. Under no circumstances. No, absolutely not. Luckily, there's always Elseworlds. Yeah, you can. It's like that. That's why I'm like, yeah, she can be like that's DC's like compromise. She could be that way. She could be like with Supergirl or like Zala as she is in Dark Knights of Steel. or like, see, where else was she that? Or she wasn't that in Red Sun, the comic, I don't think. But it's like, you can do that in Elseworlds because relatively anything you want to do in Elseworlds, for the most part, yeah, that's fine. You can do it in Elseworlds. It's just you can't expect it to reflect the main continuity. I mean, Elseworlds, because you also have Flashpoint handle Diana. Yeah. Which is sad when you read the actual Flashpoint comics. That Wonder Woman is extremely sympathetic. And again, check out Brit and I's episode, shameless plug, on Flashpoint Wonder Woman. Zeus tried to do the Dean the Perez one, but she wasn't his daughter then. Yeah, exactly. That's why it's different. So I'm like, yeah, it's still creepy, but Elseworld makes a lot. Yeah, exactly. I'm fine with it if it's in Elseworlds. Yeah, exactly. Because that's what the general audience knows the most. Yeah, exactly. Just read the first issue of Cheetah and Cheshire. Very meh, all set up. Yeah, exactly. We'll see how that goes on. But it's like, I don't expect anything really groundbreaking from it. But it's like, we'll see. Well, what I have been enjoying is I checked out that Wonder Woman, that at like Amazon's and like We Wonder series. It's called A Warriors and a We Wonder. It's like a baby Diana, and it's like the other Amazons like having contests and stuff to see who's gonna like protect Doom's doorway. It's really cool. I like it. It's really cute. I like it. I embrace any form of good Wonder Woman content that's out there, because Lord knows, because of like the main run, we don't get a lot of really good Wonder Woman stuff recently. I really enjoyed Cheetah and Cheshire first issue. Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. It's not overly bad. So it's like, okay, I'll check that out. Plus, it's Rucka. I know he at least knows how to write Cheetah. So it's like, okay, that's fine. That's fine. And I'll check it out at a later date. And Britt and I may even review it on an episode. But it's like, I've heard it's pretty enjoyable. So, okay, I'm fine with it. If they want to go in that direction. But regardless, here's the lesson I want to leave you guys with. Here's a lesson that this whole Tom King Wonder Woman thing left me with. And you know what? Robert says it all the time. Find your comic book passion. It's like with me, yeah, I don't like King's Wonder Woman, so I went back and started reading a bunch of older runs and stories that I hadn't read before. And you know what? That's partly why I fell in love with the character of Wonder Woman. So it's like, look, it's the thing about these characters, like, even if you don't enjoy the current run, there's like 90 years of material. I guarantee you'll find a comic you'll like Rucka, Perez, Simone, Azzarello, even Charles Sewell. There's so many great Wonder Woman runs to check out that it's like that's what I did. And plus, with Absolute Wonder Woman, I'm like, that's the Wonder Woman book I read, and then I read a bunch of back issues and get the omnibuy for like all the different Wonder Woman runs that I've never read before but wanted to. So it's like, okay, I'm enjoying it. Plus, this stream is because it's like, okay, you know what? I want to talk about great Wonder Woman stories. Battle Goon said, serious question about Grant Morrison's Earth One. Why did they make such an end that makes Diana seem like the girl's rated up villain ever? Did they write this? Well, what Paquette and Morrison said is that they don't agree with like the politics of the book. They're just portraying it because they felt like that's the logical conclusion from the story. And I go, you know what? I respect that. By the way, King's Wonder Woman feels less like a demigod and more like a girly Spider-Man street level. That's what kind of wants to write her. Have you reviewed or talked about Kelly Sue Comics Wonder Woman Historia? I haven't. I will. That may, you know what? Next week I'll talk about that. That'll be next week's stream. What needs to change for her villains and Wonder Girls to get more attention, love, and investment? What you need is a writer that, for one, knows a lot about her lore, like Kelly Thompson, because Absolute Wonder Woman is showing that she knows a lot about Wonder Woman and like all of her villains. Then what you do is that person has to be willing to like execute on that vision. In other words, like, yes, there you go. That's the other thing. It's like you need to like have a writer that's going to write them for like you need to essentially find a writer that knows enough about the villains to reinvent them in new ways or so. Yeah, Kelly Thompson is like my favorite writer at DC right now. Absolute Wonder Woman is my favorite DC book currently. Like, it is badass. Thoughts on Rucka? Has anyone else? Thinking of Rucka, has anyone else used Kale? I think Steve Orlando did. I know in a few. Hang on, let me see, because I have a trade of that. Okay, here we go. So what we have here is Wonder Woman Heart of an Amazon by Shea Fontana. She did Wonder Woman, and it was the one where like Kale bids for a date with Wonder Woman and stuff. So there's that. You need a writer that knows the character's origins and who they are. Yeah, exactly. All that. And Kelly Thompson every single month shows me she is that writer. G. Willow Wilson used her. Okay, yeah, exactly. I knew other writers have used her before. To great effect, mind you. To great effect. It's like there's so many great villains that you can use that it's no, she doesn't date Wonder Woman. It's like, honestly, I don't know why they did that storyline, but it's like, all right, fine. Yeah, I thought she hated Kale. Wonder Woman does not hate anyone. I think it was like Kale's idea of getting like close to Diana or something like that. So I don't necessarily remember why, but no, I'll talk about that at a later stream. But it's like, but yeah, it's like ultimately I'm like, okay, I can kind of I can go with this. But yeah, so I think that's a good place to leave it because my throat's getting sore. But so yeah, and again, Super Wonder Legacy is either going to be tonight at 10:30 or tomorrow, and we're in the process of getting Jason Lewis, the voice of Superman from Justice League Action, on the show for an interview. So be on the lookout for that. I'm really excited for that. And in terms of Wonder Woman Wednesday, I'm going to be again doing the next five more of my favorite Wonder Woman artists, because there's so many characters that like I didn't get that like I couldn't include because I do 5 at a time. So I'm like, I need more of these guys. And plus the video did great. So it's like, all right, I'll do more. And I have to see what I have to talk to the guys what we're going to do for Under Two Capes. But starting, I think we'll either start next month or soon. We're going to be doing a weekly rewatch and discussion of the entire DC EU from Man of Steel all the way to Aquaman 2. Like every DC EU movie, the good, the bad. Before you ask, when we watch Justice League, it's going to be Zack Snyder's Justice League for obvious reasons. But yeah, so that's what I got. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Steve Trevor, Steve Never, he belongs under a steamroller. Zoe is the Max About for life. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.